Hello everyone. In this video I want to talk to you about a game I've been developing that I am really proud of and really happy about and just very passionate about, called Kessler Syndrome. So this is a very important passion project to me. It's an idea I've had for years. I'm not going to bore you with all those details, but essentially it's a game like Kerbal Space Program set in the real scale solar system where you can travel between all the major planets and moons. You can build space stations, mine asteroids, you can fight things, you can essentially interact with NPCs. It's a very multifaceted game, but there is a clear objective and it is very story driven, while also allowing you to do your own thing. Basically treat it like Minecraft or a sandbox game. Build elaborate space stations or mining facilities or refining facilities or even your own farms in outer space. That's the idea for this game. It's sort of meant to be a platform for a space game. Now, you might think, well, there's No Man's Sky. Why don't you just play No Man's Sky? While No Man's Sky looks really cool, and I haven't played it, I know, big fault on my part, but I'm not really a fan of how it looks. It's just an infinite, stars, there's like some economies and stuff, everything's procedurally generated. I don't really like that. I want a very story-driven and very encapsulated game, where everything within the game is designed to work with itself, right? I want to be able to, I want it to be limited in scope. And that's what this game is going to be about. It's going to be set in a real solar system, and you will have a very large amount of objectives to complete, essentially. Now, obviously this is a very lofty ambition, so you might think, well, clearly this is just a guy who's just talking about what he wants out of his game. Well, not so fast, okay? I've already created a very basic prototype that actually works. It simulates the entire solar system with all the planets, all the moons, and even a player that can accelerate directionally. With accurate orbital physics, by the way. I'm not going to get into the math behind it, but oh man, it's so juicy and it's so beautiful. The Kepler equations are just so perfect. You can calculate the precise position of any body orbiting another body with just the time. Oh man, it's perfect, but I'm not going to get into that. So I've created a basic prototype. All the planets are present, all the moons, well, all the major moons of the planets are present. I could always add more, but I don't really feel like doing that because it's not really important for the basic demo I've created here. The sunlight is working, the planets are to scale, they rotate at the right speeds, they are all the right sizes. Jupiter is even an oblong spheroid, just like in real life, because it rotates in 10 hours. Like, it literally just turns into a kind of an elliptical, like, kind of donut. It's squished. Jupiter is squished, just like in real life. I must say, this game that I've created so far looks really cool, and I cannot wait to make it even better. I'm going to give the planets that have atmospheres realistic and good-looking atmospheres. I'm going to create more compelling gameplay, and I'm just going to make it a game that I think people will enjoy. So I'm going to start off by talking about the story. What's the story in this game? What is Kessler Syndrome? Essentially, and by the way, don't worry, I will show you gameplay. I'll probably be showing you gameplay as I'm talking from time to time, but essentially the story goes something along these lines. You are an experimental test pilot in the near future. Let's say around the time that the Expanse takes place, which is around 300 years from now. Let's just say, right? Just a couple centuries into the future. Not too far into the future where humanity is super powerful and we're gods and all that. We're not even a Type 1 Kardashev civilization yet. But we have started to branch out into the solar system and colonize the planets. We've already set up bases all over the place. There's, I think, like 100 billion humans now all over the solar system, right? People have begun to diversify. Things have begun getting interesting in our history. And so you, as the player, are the pilot of a very top secret experimental spacecraft developed by an organization on Earth. I still don't know whether it'll be a government or a secret science lab or something. But your ship is carrying a lot of very important experiments, specifically technological demonstrators that have the potential to change the fate of the entire human race. Things like antimatter drives or extremely advanced AI. Hold on to that one, by the way. That's a very important part of the story. Matter printing, computronium, things like this, right? Very advanced technologies. However, after your ship launches from Earth's surface, a couple hours into your orbit around Earth, when you're just about to start your experiments, you get a warning that there's an asteroid heading your way. And soon you get warnings all over the screen. There's asteroids everywhere, appearing out of nowhere. And suddenly they start to explode. So now you're surrounded by exploding asteroids, shattering into billions and trillions of pieces all around you. And you have to make your way through the asteroid debris and all that, but eventually when you get out, you realize that the entire Earth orbit, the entirety of Earth's orbit has been completely enveloped in debris. Earth is inaccessible anymore. Like, you cannot go to space anymore from Earth. The same has been done all across the solar system. Every single major planet and moon that has been colonized by humans has been completely rendered unvisitable. So you can no longer land on any of the surfaces of the planets because they are all surrounded by extremely dense debris. Well, what could possibly cause this? It couldn't be terrorists because humans don't have the technology to do something to this scale. And we also don't have the computational power necessary to launch asteroids into such precise orbits so that they don't hit the Earth or they don't hit the planets, but rather they just envelope them. The real story, which you're not made privy to until later on in the game, is that the galactic civilization, the Milky Way alien galactic council of sorts, right? I know it's getting big and whatnot, but anyway, essentially, an alien organization has deemed humanity a threat to all life in the galaxy. Now, these aliens aren't evil, and they're not even going to make an appearance in the game, right? They're simply, it's like if a rogue country develops an extremely dangerous weapon and tries to threaten the entire world with it, right? That's a little bit on a touche with what's going on in the world right now, but essentially, the aliens have decided to stunt humanity's technological progress temporarily so they can come in, interfere with our affairs, and prevent us from destroying essentially the entire galaxy. Because you, the player, are piloting a ship that is actually meant to demonstrate that technology for the first time. So what is this technology? What is this taboo technological progress that we are not allowed to develop yet? AI. I know it sounds cliche, I know it's very, hip and whatnot, but genuinely it is AI. And the reason for this is because the AI that is on your ship, well, the AI will become a huge part of the story. In fact, I have some really interesting plans with the AI as a character as well. But the AI is capable of creating new technologies and even improving itself and developing, just like a human. The AI is essentially conscious, and that is what the aliens fear. And this is for good reason. They've, obviously, as the Galactic Council, there are countless civilizations out there in the Milky Way. Humanity, by the way, in this story, humanity is essentially not allowed to know of the existence of other alien civilizations. And so the Galactic Council, being, like Type 2 Kardashev civilizations and Type 3 and even, they have essentially developed the means to hide their existence from civilizations that they consider to be too young to know of their existence. So they thought humanity, essentially they deemed humanity too young to know of their existence. And that's why we couldn't see them in the past. But now here they are, launching asteroids to prevent humanity from accessing space and severely stunting our technological advancement. Their goal was not to cause the extinction of humanity, but rather to just pause our development. And yeah, it will cause a lot of damage and it will hurt our population significantly. But in their eyes, this is necessary. And so now as the player, your job is to develop a means to clear up the orbits of the planets before the asteroids crash onto them and destroy them, which is ultimately what's going to happen. In fact, this was the plan of the aliens all along. They are trying to create a problem for us to solve so that we don't focus on our technological progress, right? They thought that this would occupy our time and essentially force us to put a pause while they come and interfere in our affairs so that we're essentially not going to destroy all life in the galaxy. And so now, you've got your ship with your advanced technologies and your AI, companion. And so now what you have to do is essentially start mining asteroids, start collecting resources, building machines, developing new technologies, and just constantly growing your operation. Then you have to start visiting new space stations. You have to, develop engines that can accelerate quickly enough to reach other planets in reasonable amounts of times. You have to develop, you have to gather fuel, for example. Your engines are going to be nuclear fusion powered, so you're going to need to refine tritium and stuff like that, right? There's a very scaled type of progression. And that's what I really enjoy. I'm going to make it so that you scale your progression in a very enjoyable way. Kind of like in Factorio, or even in, Satisfactory. It's basically just going to combine a lot of the best features of all the games that I enjoy. But that's the story, right? So what have I created so far? What am I about to show you in this demo here that I've already probably showed you a bit of? Well, I'm actually going to play it right now because I'm just doing all this off the top of my head. But essentially, I am simulating the real solar system with all the planets, as well as some of the dwarf planets like Eris, Make, which is actually a dwarf planet in the Kuiper Belt, Pluto, which is no longer considered an official planet, and Ceres, which is located in the asteroid belt. You can see here, they're all here. The planets are all here. Look, here's Mercury. Now, you might not see them, right? Everything here is to scale, by the way. The sizes are all to scale. Let's go to Mercury. Let's see what Mercury's up to nowadays. Hey, Mercury, how's it going, buddy? As you can see, Mercury is here. Hey, buddy. Now, yes, it's going to clip out because I'm working on a minimap system. Essentially, this is the debug view mode, but I could get even closer if I wanted to. In fact, let's get even closer to Mercury. Here's Mercury. And if I speed up time, see, this is real. This is how Mercury really orbits the sun and really rotates. This is all accurate. Its path is accurate. Everything is accurate about it. Let's go to Venus. Look at Venus. What a beautiful, beautiful planet. Now, Venus rotates retrograde because it's actually flipped upside down for some reason. What a stupid planet, right? Let's go to Earth. Good old Earth. Tilted on its axis at about 23 degrees, I think. And there's the moon, Luna, orbiting the Earth. Let's go to Luna. Oh yeah, Luna's a white ball. That's a glitch, but it actually does work. In fact, if I go out of my minimap view there and I go to Earth, you will see that, oh, actually I can just teleport to Earth. Luna actually works. It's actually a functional planet. Now, what are these white balls? What are these white bubbles around the planets? These are actually their spheres of influence calculated with the Laplace equation, which is, I think, the semi-major axis times the mass of the greater planet, of the mass of the parent body, divided by the mass of the orbiting body, in parentheses, raised to the power of 5 over 2. These are realistic. All of this is realistic stuff. This is real, like, world stuff. So it's pretty accurate. It's not perfect one-to-one replica of everything, but like this is pretty close. I'm using 64-bit floats to store their positions, obviously, because in Godot you can't have 64-bit vector 3Ds, which kind of sucks. But that's okay. I mean, you can, but you'd have to compile the engine with double precision, which I don't want to do. Let's go to Jupiter. Look at the Jovian system. These are the 4 Galilean moons. Well, I mean, I think I have 5 here, actually. Do I have 5? No, that's for Saturn. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Look at these guys. And look at Jupiter. Oh, Jupiter. Let's lock onto Jupiter, shall we? Whoops. Okay, there we go. Look, Jupiter, spinning very quickly. Jupiter's rotational period is very, very short. It's very interesting. But this is the real solar system. These are their real orbital paths. This is all real stuff. Imagine that. And for the best part here is that I've actually created a player. And the player works. Now, granted, the player is only theoretical. There's no like actual physical model for the player yet. It's just like a point in space. But I can easily add a mesh to the player. So let's lock onto the player, shall we? Let's see if I can't find the player. Yeah, here's the player. So we are now at the player. Let's accelerate the player. Let's make them leave the solar system. Actually, no. Let's move the player so that their orbit. Let's accelerate the player so that their orbit gets really close to the sun. Now, this is one of my proudest accomplishments right here. I'm going to lock the thrust vector, which is that white line. I'm going to move up. And then I'm going to accelerate the player retrograde. Essentially, going to shrink their orbit so that it becomes highly elliptical around the sun. Let's do that. Boom. Oh, look at that. Can you believe it? Now let's speed up time. And the player is now going to fall towards the sun. Well, I sped it up too fast. But look at that. Yeah, there's a little bit of a glitch in the mesh there, but that's okay. This is just like a prototype. The player gets really, really close to the sun. In fact, let's see what happens when the player gets really close to the sun. Speeds up considerably, just like in real life. Look at that. This is real time right now. We are in real time. The player is extremely close to the sun. That's unbelievable. Let's lock back onto the player, and let's observe the player's orbit. You see that? Now we are back. We're going back to our apoapsis. It's going to take a while. As a matter of fact, it will take a very long time. Okay, we are at apoapsis right now. Now we are heading back to periapsis. Now we are falling back towards the sun. And look at that. Ooh. Isn't that something? It looks just like Kerbal Space Program, dude. That's unbelievable. Oh my god. But yeah, now we are back around the sun, and that's that. So, as you can see, this is working. It's a physical simulation of the solar system. In fact, let's go to Saturn. I really like the way Saturn looks. Saturn. Saturn's rings. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful planet. Look at this. This is unbelievable. By the way, I can turn off this white bubble thing. You can see it even better like this. In fact, I can even turn off the planet labels so you don't see any of that either. Look at this. Look, one of Saturn's moons. Let me slow down time a bit. Look at that. You can see all of Saturn's moons right there. Unbelievable. Isn't this beautiful? I find this so incredibly beautiful to look at for some reason. It's just so unbelievable. So this is the mini-map view, and man, oh my god, this looks incredible. Now, you can't see the sun, obviously. In the real solar system, if you were at Saturn, you would barely be able to see the sun. It would be a tiny little dot in the sky. I haven't really added a glare yet to the sun because it wasn't really important to me, but I'm going to start working on the aesthetics of the game soon, and it's going to look absolutely amazing. But for now, this is accurate. Like the sun, the sunlight, the Saturn. I mean, look, Saturn is even on an oblate spheroid, just like in real life. Saturn is not a perfect sphere, and neither is Jupiter. Neither are any of the gas giants, for that matter. In fact, none of the planets are, except maybe Mercury. But the big gas giants like Saturn and Jupiter are actually not spheres. They're compressed vertically, so they look kind of like eggs a little bit because they spin so fast. And look, I got that. I got that in my game. Isn't that cool? Let's lock onto one of Saturn's moons and see how it orbits. Look at that. Isn't that insane? Oh man, and look at the simulation of the light and all that. Man, it just looks so good. And you can see the Saturn's rotation as well. In fact, let's go back to Jupiter. Actually, I mean, yeah, you can see Saturn's rotation and the hexagonal polar storm. Jupiter. Look at Jupiter's rotation, dude. Look how beautiful that is. Like, come on. Ooh, that's trippy. I'm locking onto Jupiter's rotation there. But yeah, that's just so cool. We can see the moons orbiting. Oh, man. Let's go to one of the icy gas giants. Let's go to Neptune or Uranus. Ha, Uranus. Let's go to Uranus. Uranus also has rings, by the way, or Uranus, whatever. I'm going to call it Uranus. I'm not a baby. Okay, whatever. Uranus also has rings. You can see them right here. And they look awesome. It also has two moons. I'm going to turn on the labels again so you can see them. Ariel and Oberon. Oh, and Titania. Okay, I guess I've added 3 moons to Uranus. The gas giants have a lot of moons. A lot of them are really small, but I've added the biggest ones that I could find on Wikipedia, and I've taken all their orbital characteristics. Neptune, Proteus, and Triton. I think something is wrong with their orbits here. Triton is orbiting the wrong way. Unless Triton's orbit is highly irregular. Let me see if that's the case. Let me turn on the paths again. I can't. Yes, there we go. Okay, Triton. It seems like Triton is orbiting... Is Proteus orbit? What is going on here? I have never checked out Neptune in this game. Okay, so it looks like Triton is orbiting retrograde. Huh. Okay, that's interesting. But there you go, man. This is the real solar system right here. Let's go to Nereid. This is... Okay, this is a glitch. Clearly, this is a glitch. But I will fix this. Oh, no, it's not. No. Nereid is just one of Neptune's really distant moons. Wow, that's insanely far away. Here's Pluto. Pluto. Cute little guy. Okay, he's a white ball, but he does have a mesh. I don't know why this white ball is happening, but Eris, another dwarf planet. Extremely, extremely irregular orbit, by the way. Really interesting. Make, another planet. There's the sun. Ceres, the dwarf planet that we all know and love. And Haumea, an icy belt dwarf planet. Yeah, and there you go. That is the solar system. And I've added a planet 9, as you can see. This planet 9 is actually meant to be a big part of the game's story. So Planet 9 is actually hypothesized to exist in real life. It's a very massive super-Earth that is theorized to exist far outside the orbit of Neptune, way far outside, as you can see here. Now this is based on just approximations. There's no real data on Planet 9. I've just kind of put in some random orbital characteristics for this planet, but I really like this because it kind of serves as the end game, right? Planet 9 is meant to be the final stage, where the final boss will be, where the player makes the realizations and understands everything that's been happening up to this point. And this is it. This is the game. You can accelerate and decelerate. In fact, let's accelerate the player so that they can escape the sun's gravity well. Let's see if I can't do that. Let's move the player to their periapsis. Okay, players at periapsis. Now let's accelerate the player prograde, so that the player will escape the gravity well of the sun. Let's see if I can't do that. So let's see, around roughly this direction like that, and unlock the thrust vector. And I'm going to press U. Boom. The player is now on an escape trajectory. Oh, well, it kind of glitched out. But the player's trajectory is now extremely hyperbolic. And there you go. It works. I'm going to accelerate it that way again to shorten it again. Oh, boy. Now the player is just going to fall into the sun. Well, if you were orbiting this close to the sun in real life, you would be dead. But yeah, there you go, man. That's the game. This is Kessler syndrome. Next up, I'm going to add... more advanced physics. I'm going to handle sphere of influence changes, which I'm not handling currently. I'm going to work on a more usable user interface. I'm going to also add an actual like player, with a physical model and better controls. And after that, it's just time to start adding gameplay. Asteroids to mine, blow up stuff, collect resources, crafting, that kind of stuff. Simple. Simple in theory. Of course, this is going to be really difficult to do, but so far, I am very happy with this progress, and I just wanted to show it off because I think that it's cool, and I think maybe other people might find it cool, especially if you like Kerbal Space Program. If you've enjoyed Kerbal Space Program, then I think you might enjoy this as well. In fact, let's do something interesting here. I'm going to accelerate the player straight down, right? Let's see what happens to the orbit of the player when I do this. Just like in Kerbal Space Program, it kind of flips. This is something I tried when I first added this feature, and I remember thinking this is so similar to what happens when you try to circularize your orbit around the poles in Kerbal Space Program. I remember having this issue in Kerbal Space Program when I wanted to get a polar orbit, but whenever I accelerated straight down, my orbit would just kind of expand outwards and then start to flip. So I'd have to accelerate retrograde upwards as well, like this kind of, to keep doing that. Wait, whoops, like that, or something like that. I'm not really too familiar with all that, but yeah, that's basically it. And obviously you can accelerate the time. You can see how the planets all orbit. This is maximum time scale. I don't want to do more than this because it already looks kind of glitchy. You can see Mercury is whipping around the sun super quick, whereas Planet 9 is taking its sweet time because it's so far from the sun that it just goes super slow. Eris as well, very far outside the orbit of even Pluto, taking its sweet time. When it gets close to the sun, it goes faster. When it gets farther from the sun, it goes slower. Look at that, man. This is our solar system. This is the place we all call home. Let's go to Earth one more time just to see our blue marble. These are the orbits of the 4 big planets. You see that? I mean, the 4 terrestrial planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. This is how tiny those orbits are. Look how tiny. That's where we are right there. That's Earth. And look how much bigger the solar system really is. That's insane, dude. And look at the spacing between the planets. They're all roughly the same. The scales are roughly the same between the spacings. In fact, Jupiter is actually pretty close to the sun, which is kind of interesting. Then we got Ceres, kind of in the asteroid belt, which I'm going to add as well, by the way. We got Mercury over here, Earth, Venus. You can see the elliptic. Look at that. Look at the orbits and how they compare when it comes to like how horizontally level they are. Ceres is out here just kind of wonking, just sideways or whatever. And we got Jupiter. Hello, Jupiter. But yeah, I'm going to turn down the... Look at that. Isn't that weird? Let's watch Jupiter approach. Let's see. Let's see if we can't catch Jupiter in an approach here. Jupiter's coming. Oh no. Whatever shall we do? Think of the children. Jupiter, no, don't do it. Damn, Jupiter's spinning really fast. Oh yeah, kind of glitched out. I'm 827 years into the future, and that's why this is glitching out, because this is like trillions of seconds, and even 64-bit floats don't have enough precision to count that small of an increment. So yeah, this is the unfortunate outcome of this. This is an easy fix, but the game's not going to take place that far into the future anyway. You're not going to be playing for 800 years, that's for sure. In fact, in my game, the whole story is probably going to take place within like 2 years, because the Kessler syndrome, for one, would degrade and eventually start causing untold amounts of damage on Earth, which is what you, as the player, are trying to prevent. But also, what is going on with Jupiter's rotation? I know what the problem with Jupiter's rotation is. It's not the time scale being too imprecise. It's that I'm manually updating the Y rotation on the Jupiter mesh, but I'm not resetting it to 0 when it loops around. So the rotation has got to be like 10 million degrees right now, or 10 million radians. Oh my god. Can I find Jupiter's mesh? Yep, I was right. Okay, I just found a bug. So you can see here that there are still things for me to work out. Holy! Oh my god, I forgot about that. Okay. Well, there you go. But the game works. Yeah, guys, that's Kessler syndrome. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was very long, and yeah, I'm gonna work on this game and make something out of it, because I think it's really cool, and I really want to turn it into something. So if you have any ideas, or if you think it's cool, then let me know, I guess. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.